This week, the big Spanish engineering firm Acciona announced plans to double the size of Adelaide's new desalination plant, making it the largest renewable energy-powered project of its type in the world. But as Cathy Swan reports, billions of dollars of other green power projects face an uncertain future because politicians are brawling over the renewable energy target legislation.
It was clear the Spanish meant business this week. Not only was their king, Juan Carlos, in town, but they signed a new contract doubling the size of Adelaide's renewable-powered desalination plant, which should deliver half the city's drinking water from the end of next year.
It is a very ambitious project. It has, technology-wise, the most advanced technology features available in desalination in the world, and that I can be very blunt about.
Jose Manuel Entrecanales is president of global renewable energy and infrastructure giant Acciona, which is leading the consortium building and operating the $1.8 billion project at Port Stanvac.
We will have a very important presentation card for Australia's water problem and Australia's desalination projects in the future. Besides, it gives us stability. It gives us, it allows us to further understand Australian economy, Australian society.
Spanish Acciona's a big name in Europe and has spent about 20 years pioneering sustainable development in energy, water and infrastructure across 30 countries, including $650 million worth of investments in Australia. And around the globe, projects like desalination plants are often initially controversial.
In the case of desalination, I think there's always a degree of protest, and there's always a small, which is diminishing by the day. In the sense of, for example, energy intake, in this particular case of Adelaide, we're already below the 3 kilowatt-hour per litre input, which is a very important breakthrough in technology and in energy saving.
Acciona's Australian footprint includes major wind farms in Victoria and South Australia, but the company last made headlines here 4 years ago in its failed bidding war for Pacific Hydro.
No, to be totally honest, I don't have many regrets. I've been able to do other things, and trains go by all the time. You catch some, you don't catch others.
At the time, $900 million was deemed too much to pay for Pacific Hydro, but Industry Funds Management Chair Gary Weaven says he has no regrets.
No. We had the wonderful competition from Acciona, the Spanish company, bidding aggressively. When Pacific Hydro was a listed company, we had 30% of it. That forced us to pay more than we would have liked to, but it didn't force us to pay more than we should have.
But the value of renewable energy investments is once again under review, now that the Renewable Energy Target, or RET legislation, aimed at a 20% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2020, has been shunted off to a committee until August.
The matter is resolved in the affirmative.
What an extraordinary decision we've seen in the Senate today, a decision by the alternative government to defer the vote on the renewable energy target.
That legislation will call forth over the next few years something like $20 billion of new investment in renewable energy in this country, and that's thousands and thousands of jobs. Without that legislation, the industry will be stopped in its tracks.
The Coalition says its support of the RET bill fell over after the government coupled it with the more contentious Carbon Pollution Reduction Scheme legislation, which is now also on hold until August. Whatever the reasons, the move to defer has been panned.
It's incredibly frustrating to the boards and management of Pacific Hydro because the renewable energy target legislation is fundamental to investment going forward.
Even more frustrating perhaps for AGL Energy. On the day the RET bill was deferred, AGL announced it was spending $9 million buying a couple of wind farms to help it meet its long-term obligations under the expanded Renewable Energy Target Scheme. AGL later put out another statement saying it's disappointing to see this important legislation, which has bipartisan support, used as a political football in the Senate. And it's not just locals who are concerned by the delay.
This is a long-term investment we're making here. And if we delay it, we obviously can't make it without knowing what the environment is going to be in the long run.
The regulatory uncertainty is adding to woes caused by the financial crisis, and it means projects are coming off the drawing board.
Yes, we are putting on hold until it's not really our decision either. I mean, the banks won't finance. The banks will halt their financing.
But Jose Manuel Ondracanale says Acciona is still looking to grow in Australia.
Still pending to see if we can enter the general infrastructure, transport, social infrastructure in general sector, which we haven't done yet, but we have great hopes that we will in the very near future.
Acciona says its growth will be organic with no big targets in its sights, at least for the moment.